Are you like me in regard to bow hunting? You might have the same arrows for a season or two. You start shooting some, you start breaking them, hitting deer, losing them. And before you know it, you have to get new arrows. And you might not buy the same arrows. Or somebody might give you some different arrows. And if you're like me, you have a quiver or a garage full of all sorts of different arrows. I shoot Easton arrows, and they're all Eastons that I have, but I have a lot of different sizes of arrows. One thing that I've learned is that, and I know a lot of archery guys, purists, are going to tell you this is not right, but I've learned that at short distances, I can get by with different size arrows that are cut the same, especially on those 15 and 20 yard shots. I don't like to do that, however, because the differences in flight characteristics really show up after that, and especially when you put broadheads on there, even if you're shooting expandables. To illustrate my point, I have two different types of arrows here. I have a 6.5 millimeter whiteout arrow, and I have a 4 millimeter FMJ. If you go off the weight of these arrows, completely different. This one is about 8 grains an inch. This one is 11 grains an inch. That's 90 grains difference. Now, that's a lot of weight difference. Now, we're not talking about kinetic energy. We're not talking about any of that. We're just talking about the flight of the arrow. But let me show you the difference on a close shot versus a little bit farther shot. I don't suspect, because I've shot my Matthews enough, I don't suspect much of a difference at the shorter distance, but I expect a big difference at the farther distances. So the first arrow I'm going to shoot is my trusty FMJ. All told, when I have a broadhead on this thing, I'm getting almost 500 grains. It's a 29-inch arrow. And I'm going to aim on the block there. I'm going to aim at the bottom right square. Right at the base of it. So I'm going to do the same with this arrow. I'm going to aim, I don't like wrecking arrows, so I'm going to aim just above that arrow to see if it's close, and I certainly don't want to break it. Not much difference. I aimed just above that other arrow. My pattern's pretty close. Now, if I was going to go bow hunting 15, 20 yards, I'm not going to worry too much about it. That's a mistake, because we can't always plan for our shots on how far they're going to be. Now let's take that target and let's move it back about 15 yards. So I moved the target back about 12 steps, 12 paces. I'm going to call it 12 yards. I'm going to aim at the exact same spot, right at the crease of that block square. First one up, the FMJ, a little bit heavier. It's right there. Now, let's see if there's a difference on the lighter arrow. Big difference. You see that one? That arrow flew a lot faster, and it hit, I'm going to guess, at least 3.5 inches higher. Exact same aiming spot. That's where those differences come into play when you're using various size arrows. So be sure to use the same arrows, practice with them, and by all means, when you go hunting, limit your shots to the distance that you know you can hit on the money.
Sevr broadheads are the only broadhead manufacturer, at least that I've ever heard of, that have been third-party reviewed to be better than field point accurate. How can you be better than field point accurate, you might think? Well, it's simple. Broadheads are machined with a high degree of precision. Field points, they're inexpensive, they're made really fast, and frankly speaking, maybe aren't as good as people think they are. The nice things about the Sevr head, every head comes with a set screw that you can lock it into practice mode. When it's in practice mode, you can actually shoot with the same broadhead you're hunting with, so you can have 100% confidence that your setup is going to hit exactly where you want it to when that big buck comes out. For this and more information, go to sevrbroadheads.com.